Welcome to our weekly World Climate Change News. A new United Nations study found that shrinking biodiversity could have a severe impact on the Earth's food supply. Agriculture, currently dependent on monoculture of just 9 crop species, is at risk, since a disease or a pest could wipe them out. The Food and Agriculture Organization is calling for sustainable farming practices and revised legislative frameworks in order to reverse this trend globally. Greta Thunberg, the 16-year-old climate action leader, stood alongside European Commission President Jean-Claude Juncker on the 21st of February as he announced that the European Union will devote a quarter of its budget to solving the climate change crisis. Thunberg established a one-person strike at the Swedish Parliament a few months ago and inspired a global movement. She also exposed that the current EU target of reducing greenhouse gases 40% by 2030 must double to keep the warming of the globe under 1.5 degrees Celsius. Emerging in 2018, the latest wave of climate action has been manifesting mainly in Europe through school strikes and has been bolstered by an intergovernmental panel on climate change report that urged to keep global warming below 1.5 degrees Celsius. But the movement is at risk of losing its momentum and press interest. To avoid that from happening, former activists recommend to consider psychological skills when persuading, harness the guilt of the previous generations, and do not stick to traditional social movements. The Clean Seas campaign, launched in February 2017, urges people to cut back on single-use plastic and protect national waters. Since then, 57 countries have joined the campaign, which has now become the world's largest alliance for combating plastic pollution of the oceans and coastlines. In the past 2 years, over 100,000 people joined social media with hashtags such as Clean Seas and Beat Plastic Pollution, as well as several sport initiatives such as Volvo Ocean Race and Race for Endurance swimmer Lewis Pugh have been made to increase awareness of our plastic footprint. After a report by ministers recommends lifting of the ban on trophy hunting and calls for the establishment of elephant meat canning for pet food, campaign to ban trophy hunting has been making strong critiques toward these proposals. Both proposals have disastrous implications for elephant population and conservation of the ecosystem. After seeing horrifying images of 5 baby walrus, 11 orcas, and 90 baby belugas kept in cruel conditions, the Kremlin ordered the people who captured them and planned to sell them to Chinese aquariums to set them free. This decision came after their pictures went viral on social media and online news, and environmental activist Leonardo DiCaprio created a petition and urged his followers to sign it. Even though the order was given, animals remain in cages until scientists find a proper way to reintroduce them to the wild. FAO released a forecast of a 76% increase in red meat demand by 2050. This would mean that a soybean farm the size of the United Kingdom would have to be created in order to meet livestock dietary demands. A new alternative using lumna could solve this issue, as it grows rather rapidly. Despite it being inconsistent and unpredictable at best now, more needs to be explored on this potential sustainable replacement. Since the separation of Sudan and South Sudan, the Near-Mission village area has been intrinsically linked, even though it is divided by the political border. The fears of overgrazing of livestock and natural supplies, coupled with overgrowing population and influx of displaced communities. To mitigate tensions, the UN Environment, with the funding of the EU, has sought out to use natural resources for peace. The project was to educate on the sustainable use of natural resources without going overexploiting them. This was Alexandra Suprun on Weekly World Climate Change News. I hope you join us here next week.